So Mario Kart World seems to be a pretty big deal right now for a lot of reasons, and while I still haven't played it because, well, I am sure that it is a good game. People do seem to be having a lot of fun with it, and you know what? Who am I to cast judgment, dude? I haven't even played the damn thing. Overall, I feel like it's pretty easy to be pessimistic about this sort of thing, you know, these big changes, especially when the old formula seemed to work so well, but I don't think that having a one-sided argument really benefits anyone. But this video isn't going to be on Mario Kart World, as you could have guessed. I didn't really want to talk about it, but it's just kind of hard to ignore the cow-shaped elephant in the room. Now, this video is going to be about 8 Deluxe Tracks, the base game. There is a lot of level design tricks that Nintendo has incorporated into these tracks, which is why they feel so polished. It's actually kind of hard to play other racing games with how high of a bar a Deluxe has set. And one of these tricks that they use like all the time is elevation. You see, in the first Mario Kart, all of the courses were completely flat. That was kind of just due to the limitations of the Mode 7 chip, which is what allowed for these kind of 3D games on the SNES, such as Star Fox, or the game that actually inspired Mario Kart to begin with, F-Zero. And I mean, it's not difficult to imagine what the developers were going for when they made these tracks. But when they were remade as retro tracks, starting from the DS onward, asterisk there, they were kind of just stuck to the same flat aesthetic. I guess they made them feel retro, which, I mean, is literally the point, but the Double Dash tracks were also categorized as retro, and that shit came out like 4 years earlier, and in most regards, they were actually a downgrade from that game. This trend of remaking a course and trying to stick to the original feeling was definitely a good idea, but after so many SNES tracks, it's a little hard to care. I mean, when half your game is chock full of fresh, new, and exciting ideas, and the other half are like the same Mario circuit copy-pasted, it definitely makes your game feel half-finished. The best way I can put it is that you could always tell if the course you were playing on was a retro track. Until Mario Kart 8, where they completely redesigned each course from the ground up. This is Ribbon Road on the GBA, and this is Ribbon Road on the Switch. This is what a talented team of level designers can do if given the chance. And you know what's funny? The retro tracks are almost all better than the standard 8 Deluxe ones. That's never been the case. And while there's definitely a lot of factors at play here, you know, a lot of consideration, I think the most basic thing that they did that contributed most to the slickness of these tracks was just by adding a lot of height variation. This is even more predominant in the DLC, where almost every single course here is a remake. And yeah, maybe they didn't have the resources to spend as much time on the graphics of each course, but it is night and day with some of these. And with others, the layers are peeled far enough back to where you can visibly see how just adding a little bit of height variation, even subtly, can alter the feeling of a track substantially. Elevation can also be played with as a dynamic element. Let's circle back to Ribbon Road here for a second. This wobbly ribbon strip makes it incredibly hard to drive properly. It is genuinely difficult to not only trick on all of these humps, but also take both shortcuts. And I'm not even kidding. Literally try it for yourself. It is difficult. Smart steering off. This is such a simple idea, but it adds a level of dynamic difficulty that wasn't present in the original track. It lets the player decide how safe they want to drive, whether it be taking both shortcuts, just one, tricking as much as possible, or not at all. Hell, people have memorized the individual cycles in order to squeeze as much time out of this track's record as possible. This one element adds so much to so many different types of players. It's simple on the surface, but has an incredibly high skill ceiling. It really goes to show not only how far the Mario Kart series has come, not only how far the development team has come, but how far racing games have come, period, from whatever the hell the first racing game was. Apparently it was Grand Track 10, but I think Night Driver is a better example, both of which were developed by Atari. Oh
how far you've fallen.
Another thing that height variation contributes to, however, is sightlines. Now, I'm pretty familiar with sightlines. It's basically what my entire base on Beta Land Season 2 is structured off of, but they're essentially lines drawn from your eyes. They're basically where you're looking, hence sightlines. And they can be manipulated really easily. Here's an example from Beta Land, and I know this isn't Mario Kart, but stay with me here. Near the edge of my area, there's this path leading to one of my friends' bases, and I bet that you'll have a pretty hard time spotting it until I go through this tunnel, because now it's front and center, and there aren't like any real tricks going on here. It's just the placement of elements that affected the reveal. The lighthouse actually loads in from way over here, and it's first blocked by this tree, then this one, and then this hill. And I mean, if you know what you're looking for, you can kind of spot it, but I will bet money that 99% of you didn't see it until I pointed it out. Also, this cave almost acts as like a vignette that frames the lighthouse, and the subtle turn past the wall is the final cherry on top. There are so many factors that can play into guiding the viewer's perspective. It's literally everywhere, from architecture to painting to design and manufacturing to advertising to city planning to sculpting to literally the thumbnail of this video. There are subtle tricks being used to manipulate these sightlines to make something look like more than the sum of its parts. And as you may have guessed, Mario Kart is no different. Mario Kart does this in so many ways, some subtle and some right in your face. There are actually so many examples of this that it could be an entire series all on its own. But the track I want to focus in on is Mario Kart Stadium. This shit ain't no circuit, alright? Being the first course that most players are likely to play, it needs to give them some expectations for what this game is all about. It needs to introduce gliding, anti-gravity, underwater can wait till the second course, I guess. And I'd say it does all of these really well. From the starting line, you have a very linear view of the course. The straight edges on both sides frame the slight turn up ahead. The reveal of this crowd is blocked by this overpass thing, and once you turn, the sheer scale of this track is shown to you. Your next turn is framed by these screens and banners, all of which would be very annoying if I paid to be here, and the colors on the road help separate both sections, which are further separated by this small barrier. Moving up ahead, the main gimmick of this game makes an appearance, anti-gravity. The way the camera slowly moves up to reveal the rest of the course is also pretty nice, and I love how it's asymmetrical. I am a complete sucker for asymmetry. Another thing of note is how this part of the track is actually distinctly separated from the rest, foreshadowing an upcoming section. This is actually something A Deluxe does a lot with his course design, favoring smaller, more interconnected areas that overlap multiple times. After passing another turn, the whole anti-gravity thing really starts to kick in. Not only can you see the same crowd, now turned 45 degrees, but also these toads floating in a not-so-clown car. When you reach the bottom of this turn, you can also see the moon, an element that is also repeated numerous times throughout this game. Approaching the glider ramp, your vision is almost entirely obscured by the track, setting up the crowd reveal once again, this time with a noticeable cheer. Finally, this helicopter gives the player a sense of height, and the final turn is marked with the Mario Kart logo, being curved and almost acting as those like clickbait red arrows showing you where to go. Overall, this track does an incredible job not only teaching players 2 out of the 3 main mechanics of the game, but also just being a good track. A lot of people would call this track boring. In fact, most people would call the majority of these standard racing tracks boring. And while I see where they're coming from, once you spend the time dissecting these tracks, it's hard not to notice how great they are, how great they're designed. All of the tricks that I just mentioned not only make Mario Kart Stadium a standout track, but actually tell us a lot about the Mario Kart development team's design philosophy. The number one thing they value most when it comes to designing a new track is readability. They want the player to instinctively know where to go and what to do when they come up to a new section they haven't seen before. They do this by creating visually distinct areas of the track, by varying the height of the road, and by ensuring they properly teach any new mechanics before they're tested. I think the best example of this is in Mario Kart Wii with Mushroom Gorge. The main mechanic of this track are these bouncing mushroom platforms supported by the other mushrooms which don't bounce the player and these bottomless pits. The track immediately forces you to engage with its mechanics and learn what these platforms even do. It then follows this up with a section where the player can choose to re-engage with the course's mechanics for a greater reward, or veer off to the side for a safer path. If the player takes the mushroom route, they'll also learn that these green platforms don't bounce you, and then can take that knowledge into the final room, which tests the players on what they just learned. But all of this happens so naturally that it doesn't feel like you're learning anything. It's incredibly similar to how the 2D Mario games are designed. They teach you a new mechanic, ask but not force you to engage with it before throwing you into a final challenge, all while iterating on the core mechanic multiple times in fresh and unique ways. I love it. Mario Kart track design has come a long way in the past 33 years, and while I've only been alive for a little over half that time, I have so much appreciation for the series. And in 2055, when I finally get a Switch 2 and play Mario Kart World, I don't think I'll be all too disappointed, because from what I've seen, even though the tracks feel flatter and the items less powerful, it's something new. And there are still a lot of tracks in that game that utilize the same tricks as 8 Deluxe. I'm excited for the future of the series because they've already shown so much talent and passion and consideration for these tracks. And even if I don't like World as much, that doesn't invalidate the things that these people have accomplished. No matter who you are or what team you have, it's impossible to continuously one-up yourself. That's a lesson I've struggled to learn from doing this whole YouTube thing, and I'm rambling, aren't I? That's basically all I wanted to say. Tracks are cool, height is cool, sightlines are cool, Mario Kart is kinda based, actually. And I care a lot about this series. I mean, these tracks are obviously good, but there's a deeper sense of appreciation I have for them now that I've studied them or whatever. There's a lot of smart design here. It's the kind of smart that's hard to notice, but it doesn't need you to notice it. It just needs to work. It's cool knowing that a talented team sat down and probably spent a couple thousand hours trying to figure out where that ramp should go, how tall it should be, what kind of billboard should be behind it, what angle the moon should be at, how hard the player should clench their ass cheeks. And if that doesn't earn at least some respect, then I don't know, man. Go play Night Driver or something.